All right. Well, welcome back to another Re-Education Experience podcast, Modern Realtors Playbook. Today, I'm back with another amazing and accomplished guest. This lady is someone I met years ago, back when I was building out my independent brokerage. I think this was probably, give or take, somewhere around 2017 when you and I connected.
Yeah.
With a mutual friend, a mutual business acquaintance. And I got to tell you, I probably never told you this, but right from that initial conversation, I knew you were special and was like a serious force to be reckoned with in this business. And I've been just watching you and the journey unfold. It's just been an awesome thing to watch from the sidelines, cheering you on. So today's guest is none other than Amy Youngren, founder of the North Group in kind of Toronto, Ontario. Amy and I met when we were at separate firms, and now we find ourselves reignited and realigned in our mutual paths, helping real brokerage grow across North America. So that's something I don't think you or I ever thought was going to happen. So
For sure.
Amy herself, been a top 1% agent for years and years and years. Plus, the North Group, since their inception, is closing on $1 billion worth of sales. And this is
just
only
past it, actually.
Oh, did
just
you?
past it. Yeah.
And that's only since 2017, I think, based on some of the research I did. So that's fast. Helped well over 300, probably near 400 clients, and continues to build this awesome team. I mean, you might be wrong, but you might tell me wrong. You're around 18 people, give or take, in the organization, just like your own North Group team. Is that right?
Yeah, including staff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We would be around we're hovering that 15 to 18 mark, but we're in growth mode right now. We had a new team partner join us last week, another one this week, another one's coming in the week following. So we're excited.
So Amy, yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. That was a really nice introduction. You filled my bucket.
Now, I know I've left out a bunch of stuff, as I always do. I know you are a massively proud auntie of like 1 million. It seems like there's 1 million of these nephews and nieces.
There's 9, but there might as well be 1 million if there's 9. So
you just never know, right? So from the outside looking in, I can tell you pour a lot of love into your family, your extended family. I mean, you're a massive supporter of your sister and her business. I've seen you launch and support some of that stuff, which is really cool. You also tag yourself as an investor. And I know you're probably too humble to say, but this budding, awesome keynote speaker. So, I mean, those are the other things I just think about you. So, I mean, yeah, that's why she's on this show, because we can pull from so much of your experience. Anything else I missed?
No, I feel like I'm like, who is this girl you're talking about? She sounds cool.
You can know why I wanted to have her on the podcast now. Right?
It's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. We could go a lot of ways with your experience, and we're somewhere in the mid 50s on my episodes now in these conversations.
It's amazing.
I thought I would start and dig into when I was out at the TSX event with you. You and I were chatting over dinner, and you mentioned about your event planning background. Right. And that experience, I don't know if you look back on it fondly or if you love that, but I know it's also translated into some of the beautiful and incredible marketing that you've pulled off with North Group. Could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. For me, everything that I do is an event. Like, I almost throw every team meeting as its own individual event, every fun team get together, even if we're hosting an online virtual summit or a live in-person event. For me, it's all about what's going to be the flow. How are people going to feel? What music are they listening to when they come into the room? I was corporate in the real estate industry before I got into sales. And in that role, I held an event planning position where I was part of myself and one other person, we were responsible for planning our 2,000 to 3,000 person conventions, or like quarterly broker trainings or summits and things like that. So that's where I got my feet wet on the event space. And, I was lucky in that role to have a corporate budget behind me. But I've taken that, and just now I really apply. I think that everything that we do with events is based on the experience and how people feel and what they're going to walk away with and leave with. And so I've just brought that into team building, real estate, a listing consultation, an agent attraction event, a training of any sort. So yeah, that's how it translates over into like my day-to-day business now.
I mean, I didn't hear that answer from you, but in just looking
Oh,
into,
did I not answer the question? I'm
no, no,
sorry.
no, no, no.
Oh.
When I wrote that question for you, I didn't know what you were going to say, but as you say that, Amy, in watching, you know, North Group pull together, seeing what you do with Bigger 2023, you know, what you do with ClabCon, and even in your own marketing, when I pop on your website to look about like what's the seller experience like working with you, your one
Right.
statement of I think of everything as an event just sums it up beautifully. It makes sense to me when I watch your workflow and what you put out to the world, that you look through that lens. And I think that's a really neat takeaway for any agent just 5 minutes into this podcast to say,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great way to play. Anything to add to that?
No, I think the most important part of an event is how people feel,
Mm.
what the value that they receive from it, right? So then everything, I mean, we can go, that could be like the entire podcast. We could talk about that, but the depth of the experience, how you make people feel and how, you know, what they walk away with, what they've learned, how the experience overall, I think is the most important part of the event. And you can do that simply at a listing consultation. You can do that as something as simple as a listing consultation or a 3,000 person event. So I take it granular, right, into my listing appointments, and to our team meetings, but I go full out when we're having a big event as well.
Totally. Like when I look at the aesthetic for which you put out to the world and what you know, just the beautiful branding parts, but it's beautiful, yes. But I think the secret sauce is how clear, how concise, and it's really easy to feel what you want them to feel. When I look through your stuff, it's like, I know where you're going with that. How did you get to that clarity? And how, I know a lot of agents think brand and they struggle with just defining truly who you guys are. Can you walk us through that client, you know, that client creation journey and anything that, you know, you've helped agents kind of do in that conversation?
Well, I think it's really cool that you say that, because if you look at the definition of north, it's, you know, what your true north is, it's being crystal clear and knowing the direction that you're going. And that's actually like the meaning behind North Group. There's a little bit more to it outside of that as well, but that's ultimately sort of the vision and the direction behind the actual name. As far as what we're doing as a company, as a team, like our brand, that came from just my passion for aesthetic, my passion for design, my passion for fashion. So I always look out. I looked outside the industry for my inspiration when we were coming up with our brand and our identity. We didn't hire at the time, but this always evolves. You know, when you think about brand and you think about your brand presence and marketing, it's going to always evolve, or at least it should. And now actually we're at a season where we just passed our 6-year anniversary, and I'm looking at our brand going, okay, I think it might be time for a refresh, time to look at, you know, is there any adjustments or changes that we should make? But to digress on my comment, the vision of North Group was mine, the name was mine, and I brought that to our team. I brought the vision and you know, the message to our team. But we together collectively came up with our mantra, which is real estate experiences worth talking about. And so, and then we build our marketing around that. So we build everything around what North Group is and stands for, and then our mantra. And we came up with that as a team. And we literally just like whiteboarded one day. We whiteboarded all the things that were important to us, all the like keywords, the buzzwords, the things that really matter in the client experience. And the word experience just kept coming up over and over and over again. And that's how we came up with it. But I will tell you, just in true transparency, we did not have the word real estate in our slogan when we first started. We did not add the word real estate until 2 years ago. So we were 4 years in the business when we had a meeting with like a Google expert actually, and he was like, "There's nothing about the immediate aspect of your marketing or your website that tells me you're in real estate." And like rocked my world. And I'm
Right.
probably going to make myself look bad by saying this, but these are important things. Nobody teaches you this stuff in school. First of all, you just learn like the school of hard knocks which is real estate. And so immediately we just added the words real estate to our slogan so that we could make it very clear the second you go on our marketing, the second you see our Instagram, the second you go on our website, that we're a real estate company. That
Isn't
was a
that
huge
funny?
lesson. That was a learning lesson.
Well, I'll be just fully transparent. What I walked in from before this was a conversation with a local Google expert, and something that we're trying to do at Redline is, again, to better foundationally be present online. And I can't believe I've been doing this for so long without some of the foundation pieces that
Yeah.
sometimes you can overlook. And again, like you said, no agents are taught Google My Business. No agents are
No.
told some of these things. And
No.
it's just, there's so many directions to go.
Yeah.
Now, how early did you reach in and say, you know what, I need to bring on like an operations person? I know, like, I felt, and I've seen it, that you've always relied, it seemingly very heavily on your operations manager, and Sarah was
Yeah.
it. And I think she's on mat leave, I think, right now.
She is. She just had her first baby and we're surviving.
So, like, tell me about that role. When did you
Yeah.
have the noodles to say, I got to bring on somebody on probably a reasonable salary and say, I want that operational support? And can you talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I was a solo agent at the time. I had just actually finished a big development project where I had a good payday. And I knew that I wanted to build a big business, and I knew that I eventually wanted to build a team. So I decided to take 1 year of salary and set it aside so that we
Mm.
could and invest it into the company so that we could grow and invest it into having that salary set aside. Because I knew that I knew I needed to buy back some of my time from a sales perspective so I could focus on an operational perspective, so I could focus on more sales or growth, recruiting, things like that. I think I just got lucky with them. I honestly do. I get asked this question all the time. I hired a recruiter. I was brought 4 candidates. She was one of them. But I don't think I was lucky in retaining her. I think I was
Mm.
strategic, and I think that that's what we can all learn. And I learned it. I learned it somewhere too. And I think it's even something that we can, learn with regard to anybody who works in our organization, whether it's an agent, somebody on staff, like whatever that role looks like. They're only going to stay or thrive to the level that we understand what their goals are and what they want to accomplish within the organization for their life, not yours, not for. And that was the lesson for me, even in team building. He's like, you can't want for an agent a lifestyle or a GCI goal that they don't want for themselves. And so the quicker we as leaders can get deep on understanding what is important to our people, where do they see themselves going, what do they want, and then provide the platform for them to do that. And I think that's why Sarah and I still work together 8 years later, even though she's on maternity leave. Like, we still talk and text regularly. So she was my very first hire. We're still together, working together to this day. She got her license last year. She absolutely crushed her first 6 months of sales, and then had a baby. But it was providing opportunities for her, it was like learning what was important to her and then opening those doors. So doors for her to do some coaching, doors for her to have staff to manage, doors for her to speak on stages and get in rooms and communities that she would maybe otherwise wouldn't have been in. So, and I think we have to do, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, when you brought her on, was it first to serve your needs, or was it right from the idea of my needs plus scale, right?
Yeah.
Again, your timeline with this to $1 billion plus is actually pretty short, right? To go from solo producer to where you're at now. Did you have that intention right off the get-go?
100%. She tells the story that I don't even remember. And I think it's because I'm getting old and we forget stuff. But she says that I pulled out a piece of paper and started drawing an org chart and what was gonna start to look like in the next few years. So yeah.
Amazing.
So there was definitely a growth conversation. And when I walked in that room, And when I met her and went through the interview process, which was a multi-meeting interview process, but I knew I wasn't, there's no way she would ever just come work for me as an admin or as an assistant. Sarah's never done a personal errand for me. She's never, like, that's not what I was bringing her on for, nor would I have ever been able to retain the caliber of, you know, just who she is, like in her expertise in that role. So
Did you, with that same message then, did you, over the years, have you brought on somebody to be more of the junior administration
yeah.
that supports you directly, or is it just team based?
Yeah, no, so we're right now we're actually 100, we're all of our service is 100% team based, but there's an aspect of the support that is for me as well. Not like, not on the personal side, that's separate, but within the team from an operational or admin perspective.
Gotcha.
Um, and we've really tried to tighten our SOPs. We tried to tighten our processes and things like that so that we can, you know, have that high level employee in that role, that COO operations director position, and then have a lot of the other things executed through virtual assistants, which is what our model is right now.
Gotcha. Now, not
Mhm.
only have you built that retention with your administration and your operations folks, like we just talked about, you've also seemingly built such an incredible culture, and the agents within the team are given, it seems like, almost like carte blanche opportunity to grow and blossom and be as big and loud and proud and as much as they want. And I think I shared with you, it's like when I look at agents like Sophie on your team and
Mhm.
how they've really, like, it doesn't feel like they're underneath somebody. It feels like
Mhm.
they are really building their
Mhm.
own big brand, and there's just really loving the proximity and the
Mhm.
affiliation to North Group at Real
Mhm.
Broker.
Yeah.
That in itself under teams is hard to do, because
Yeah.
you know, a lot of team leaders have an ego play, and there's a bit of a push, but it seems like you
Mhm.
found a way to not do that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's something I'm super passionate about. I'm excited to talk about it. I our team part our agents number one are partners, so we're all team partners, team partner or senior partner depending on production and tenure in the company. I Number one, they would never hear the words "my team" or "under me" ever come out of my mouth. Like, I'm a huge. I remember once I went to a real estate conference and I listened to a team leader say, like, "my underlings, my agents under me," like those words. And I think I like shriveled up because I was so embarrassed for that person. I can't even like, I wanted North, so I need, because it was my idea, my vision, but like then as soon as that is done, now it's now it's us. But when I started North Group, I said to Sarah, let's build this, let's create this in a way of to be the team that we would have joined if we had the opportunity. And that means that it's something where producers of all levels would be attracted to it and want to stay because they're not in competition with the Amy Youngren team, where my name and my face doesn't outshine theirs. So if you go to our North Group social media or our website, like there's nothing that puts me above anybody else. We're all on an equal playing field. In fact, I probably have less of a voice on our social than even our team partners do. And that's the way we wanted. That's the way we wanted to build it. And we have top producers who have been with us for anywhere. Like right now, we currently have a top producer who does $500,000-600,000 in GCI a year, and he's been with us for 7 years. We have had the same level of production for 4 years in a row, 3 years in a row. Those are long periods of time. The average agent stays on a team for 12 to 18 months at the longest. And then to be a top producer, to be at that level of production, and to be attached to a brand for 3, 4, 7 years, um, I think that there's something to be said about that. We don't. My name doesn't have to be attached to their marketing. My name doesn't have to be on their listings. Like, everyone can come to North Group as an entrepreneur, attach themselves to the brand and the platform, so that we can all go further faster. That's the whole vision behind what we're building. And so that then they can, exactly like you said, like have their own voice, build their own name and their own brand and autonomy within the North Group umbrella.
Yeah, I mean, I love that you do that. It's something it's something I've always shared as well. Like, our cultural, and I've always wanted Redline to not be about me. And you've seen evolutions. If you go all the way back through our social, you'll see there was moments when it might have been heavy, myself and Brett. But then over time, we adjusted it to change it because I wanted it to feel like theirs. And now at
Yeah.
Real,
Yeah.
at Real, Redline to me actually isn't worth anything other than it's ours. We're all
Yeah.
co-CEOs in it, and I think when agents feel that from the top down, it changes everything for them. They feel
It does.
limitless, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some
Yeah.
like tactical things that you bring up from a cultural perspective that somebody might, if you maybe even like, what does a team meeting look like in your world, and how do you kind of like foster that cultural piece where we could, share a few tactical things that maybe others don't do, and they're like, shoot, yeah, I'm missing the boat on that, right?
We have a DJ at our team meetings because music is everything.
Nice.
You have to create the right environment. So we spend money. We allocate a budget towards like that team meeting experience. Whether if it's virtual, we still have the music pumping as everybody's joining. If it's in person, we have a DJ. Now, is that every single week? No, of course not. But for anything that we do like that is more, is special or event style, you can't put a dollar amount on our Slack channel or team Slack channel.
Sure.
It's incredible. And that was a tough one because, often I think as smaller teams, we say like, oh, well, where there's three of us, why would we need Slack? Well, there's three of us, why would, et cetera, et cetera. We started using it when it was just Sarah and I, and it was challenging. She's like, nope, this is going to be the platform that we're going to grow on. I was like, why? Like, there's just me and you right now. But then, then Cody joined us, and then, two other agents joined us, and we started to grow. And so that culture has been set in, sort of ingrained in us right from the beginning of like, we celebrate our wins, we talk about our new listings, we ask questions, birthday celebrations. Funny, we have a channel where everybody drops crazy pictures of their pets. That evolved over time when people were like, we need a pet channel at North Group. I'm like, perfect. Yeah, it's just the little things. And I think sometimes we as team leaders, like we plan things, like we plan events or we plan things that we think are what people want. But I just ask for a lot of input. We do a feedback loop with our team every single quarter where people provide feedback. It's a very, very simple 4-question or 4 tiered system. We ask them, what should we keep doing? Like, what's working? What should we stop doing that you hate or don't want, is not important to you anymore? What should we start doing? And then what are you willing to contribute to the culture and the growth in the brand? And we get that. And so we provide a framework where like, a framework for them to give answers based off of, those four topics. But we'll say things like last team meeting, what worked about it, what didn't work about it, et cetera, et cetera. So we're constantly asking for feedback. And so we're doing things that we know they want to do. We're providing training that we know they're looking for. It's a pretty open, collaborative environment.
Love it. Yeah. It's sometimes hard. Do you find what happens when you integrate a new team member in, and there's always this really strong culture, and sometimes that can feel overwhelming, and they're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I have to catch up. Do you have any like integration ideas?
Do you want to know what? I love that you just said that, because what I'm finding now is that our social presence, and I mean, you find this out in the interview process, and I can tell if anybody's done their homework. The last 2 team partners, the one who we just actually announced this morning and the one who we announced last week, and the one that we're in the final interview stages in the next week or 2, every single one of them has come and said, I've been following you and I've been following North Group, and like the length of time is mind blowing. So if you think social doesn't work, you're crazy.
Mhm.
Not you,
Yeah.
anybody who's listening to the sound of my voice. And so, and they say, Darren, they're literally saying to me in the interview process, like, your culture is contagious. Like, I love your culture. I love your leadership style. I love how you elevate your agents. I love that we can build our own brand within, your platform. So it's all, I don't even have to say it. I honestly don't have to say a word because it's coming out in what we're doing. And so when this morning, typically our team meets someone before they join. And they've actually interviewed with a couple of our team partners before, like that's part of our interview process. And then they join a team meeting. And so at the team meeting, everyone knows this agent is looking at their opportunities with North Group, and they get a chance to see our vibe and how we work. But this morning, for various reasons, just because of like our office setup and a couple of things right now, for the first time we had somebody join us who hadn't been at a team meeting. That's it. She'd met other agents, but she hadn't been at a team meeting. And our Slack channel blew up. It was like 8:30 this morning, and I announced her, shared about her, put her Instagram profile so everyone can start following her. And within seconds, and then her response was, I can't wait to be a part of this family and to help, continue to grow and to build together and to be a part of the culture that and people are saying this without, there's no cue.
Yeah, there's
It's
no
just,
prompt for this. Yeah.
no, not at all.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, you can see that when good teams do well and they're willing to do this, and they share the stories, they share the behind the scenes, they really bring you into the group rather than be very much like guarded. You see a lot of teams do that. It's only the polish, it's only the thing.
Yeah.
And this feels like there's no personality to those squads. And you guys are, of course, the opposite of that, which I love. Now,
but we're still learning, we're still growing, we're still trying to figure it out. It's so far from perfect, but it's a work in progress. So.
totally. Well, speaking of, so you went down the path in your prior life and you had offices you had three different offices. Is that right? At one point? And
Yeah, we
then
did. We had
pulled
four
it back to
actually.
the
Yeah.
one. Is it just the one office now?
Yeah. So we're one location, one office.
Yeah.
The thing that they don't teach you in real estate school, or if you don't have an MBA when you get your real estate licenses, is like the business savvy side of things. And I am very much like, I'll go to conferences and I'm like, absorb. Okay, now like let's do this, let's do this, let's do that. I've changed a lot over the years, but that's exactly what happened to me. Was that I went to a big real estate conference, listened to every big team on that stage say that expansion was the way to build and grow, to open multiple locations. And so I just dove into it like head first. Number one, prematurely, for sure. I should never have done it when I did. Timing was right. I had zero regrets. I learned so much.
Yeah.
But I also didn't do enough due diligence before I did it. And it was not, basically, long story short, this is exactly what happened. I'm being super transparent. So I hope I'm not judged for this, but we went knee deep into it. We got to 4 locations.
Wow.
And we got a notice from the Real Estate Council of Ontario, the registrar, that said you have 30 days to shut all your locations down or you'll be fined and we will shut you down. So I got called into a meeting, and I literally sat across, just like we are, except for that we were in person, across from the registrar of the Real Estate Council of Ontario. And they said, Amy, they said, we are so proud of you as a realtor and of your brand and how you are a leader in our industry. But what you are doing does not comply with our code of ethics. The reason we know this is because there's somebody in the industry who's been following you and wanted us to know. So I basically had a competitor blow a whistle that I didn't even know needed to be
Didn't
blown.
even know, right? Yeah.
I didn't even know. I had no idea. Our leadership didn't know. It's like nobody knew that we were doing anything ethically wrong. And then he just said, he's like, I'm sorry that I have to do this, but he's like, you have to shut down. They gave me 30 days I was going to get a massive fine, like not a small fine. And this was a number of years ago. And I was like, I can't do this financially. So we folded every location and became one team under one address, one location. But that was at the time, that was a little too avant-garde for our industry. You know,
Right.
the provincial virtual cloud-based brokerage models that are focused on tech, focused on attraction and things like that, that we're a part of now, that thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of agents across North America are a part of now, was not like top of mind at all at that time.
So
And
the model
so
that you were building was just not compliant with how
it,
the real
that's
estate
right.
brokers wanted.
That's right. And now it is. Now we're at Real Broker, and there's like not even it's not even a factor or a consideration. But at the time, that was not like even a thought.
Yeah.
So we had to shut down.
Was the concept to go, it was just bigger is better, let's go, like, I mean, in my world, I went through a bit of that where I felt bigger was better, and it wasn't what about quality, it was about perception. It was like my ego probably got in the way to say, like, I wanted to have this big mega presence.
100%,
It's
100%.
like, yeah,
And
when
I,
it was
and we,
so,
it gets hounded into us, right? Like think bigger, dream bigger, like build bigger, you know, all of this. And it's not like I don't disagree with any of that, but do it with the right due diligence, do it with the right foundation, do it with the right model,
yeah,
and make sure that it's the right timing. You know, it's like I think about a conversation that I had this morning with an agent that called me for advice, and they want to build a team. And it's just like, I know now, being 6 years into this, it's not the right time for this agent to build a team, but we get so stuck in our head that that's the next evolution. Like I should build a team. I need to build a team, you know, like that's the iteration of going from a solo agent. Like that's the automatic assumption, but that's not the case. You don't need to go from being a really successful, which we were, high producing 12, 13 person team, to a 20, 25 person team in 4 locations overnight. Like you don't need to do that
yeah,
without the right foundation, without the right plan and model in place. And we just didn't have it.
yeah,
So and there was like nothing wrong. Like it was amazing. I mean, our brand presence probably really catapulted during that time because we were growing quickly. And we were very, very, there was a lot, our brand was attracting a lot in the industry at that time. But it wasn't the right platform for us to do it in, but we are in it now.
yeah. I think so many of us got caught up in that
For
thing.
sure.
And there was a period of time with coaching in a lot of the mega coaching groups that really pushed for that. And it just got us all hooked. And a lot of us didn't think through it and didn't even know what we were building. And
I remember my coach at the time, Darren, like I remember as clear as I can hear my voice right now, him saying to me, Amy, the majority of these teams that have implemented expansion are not profitable. And it was like, I literally, because I was so consumed with like you said, not even ego, because it wasn't about me. It was like North Group ego though. I was like
yeah,
pumped about our brand. It wasn't like Amy Youngren, but I was just like, nope, bigger is better. Profit will come later.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway,
You know what's funny is
so much learning, so much learning.
I'll be on, like you, a lot of coaching calls with agents in our, like, in our ecosystems at our firm or even others. And then they'll be like, Darren, I can do this. I can do this. And then they say, well, Darren, why are you doing this? I'm like, oh, well, I did this 7 years ago. And, you know, if you'd like to chat about why I've changed, then we could. And then their ears go up. They're like, what do you mean? This isn't the path? And for some it is, and for some reasons, like you said, it's the right time. But for many people,
Yeah.
they jump into something without putting in, because perception is like, I should do this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now your market has shifted a bit, right? Like your Toronto market, for those in Canada listening, of course, we've all seen the greater Toronto market just go crush for the last, basically, you know, all the way up until like last year, June-ish. And then there was a bit of a
Yeah.
pause and a change. And you and I talked offline, a bit of shifting going on. It's
Yeah,
not the same market that it
the
was,
great
right?
pause of 2022 was like May to January. It was interesting.
So like an agent, and you're leading and you're trying to keep your own revenue flowing. Like, can you express a little bit about how you guys are fighting through some of the shift? and, you know, some things that you guys have deployed, either in the new agents or even in yourself, to say,
Mhm.
how do I keep this volume going when the market isn't just rising all tides, right?
You have to, you honestly, I mean, I know it's hounded into us, things like the 4-hour work week and work smarter, not harder, et cetera, et cetera. But you got to just work like 3 times as hard now. You honestly do. If you want to produce at a certain level, you have to talk and match that from the year prior. You have to talk to 3 times as many people to get this to the same level of production. If you want your team's production, you have to have 3 times the number of agents, because everyone's numbers are just down. And so that, unless you have like this insane platform of staff and resources, that comes with a lot more focused hard work. It really does. And I also think it comes with a lot of simplification. Like, we've truly cut out the noise. We've cut out all of the like ancillary, like shiny objects and like things that cost a lot of extra money, from a marketing or whatever perspective, that we're not getting immediate results. And we're really back to like simplification, basics. How many people are we talking to? How many contacts have I made? How many emails have I sent? How many text messages? Like, we're right down to like granular KPIs right now. And we're collectively accountable to each other on it. And that's moving the needle for us. Yeah.
So I love that. And I love that you shared that, because yeah, it is a theme among the top producers. They get it,
Mm-hmm.
right? They go through
Mm-hmm.
that. How do you keep the agents there? Because it is so, this industry, especially social media based, is like distraction overload, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we coach to that. You're probably doing that. You've
Mm-hmm.
understood that, but there's so much everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, how have you been able to coach the crew to stay down that path?
Mm-hmm.
Just keep it
Mm-hmm.
simple without getting distracted. Anything you can share?
I think that um it's consistency and accountability. So like, we operate off of a model, which anybody who comes into our organization knows that we operate off of accountability groups, and that kind of resets us every single week. So we operate with small group accountability groups that have anywhere from 3 to 5 people in them, and we meet weekly. And it's not just me holding them accountable, it's them holding themselves accountable and them holding each other accountable. And it's accountability to what they want to build.
Sure.
It's not what North Group's goal is, it's what their individual goal is. And so and then we revert back to that. And I mean, like, that's a whole conversation around like setting that out and that plan for the year. But we do it on a quarterly basis, and then we break it down weekly within the quarter. So right now we're coming to the end of Q2. Some are ahead, some are on track, and some are behind. And then we're having those conversations one-on-one, like a business planning, review, audit, brainstorm together to reset for Q3. And we're doing that quarter on quarter. And I think if I look back, like, that's where we're seeing results right now. And even though we're at the end of Q2, this is the end of the third quarter that we've been operating this way. So we started it last fall, and
Yep.
then we did it earlier this year. And now we're in, and that's where I'm seeing the needle move. And I wish I would have implemented it 2 years ago and just never stopped. So
Yeah.
that's what's working.
Yeah, well, man, that's great that you do that and you have that consistency to it, and people can learn from it. You can probably draw a complete linear equation to the people that are still winning today and keeping up are versus those that aren't, to accountability, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you mean, we are all, I say this way too often, we're salespeople. We can convince ourselves of anything that we did enough. But when you have that outside third party coach, accountability group, partner, friend, somebody just to say, I was supposed to do this, I didn't. Oh, right. But most people don't reflect on that. They don't want to see the difference, right? And
I heard somebody awesome. I don't know if you know who he is or if you follow him, but Dustin Runyon in the States. My mind's going. I think he's in Arizona somewhere. I'm not going to articulate it well enough, but I should just keep listening back to when he shared with our team about it. But when you are accountable to yourself and you meet the standard or the commitment that you set out for yourself, you gain confidence because you did what you said you were going to do. When you don't, you lose confidence and you lose trust. And that translates then into every other area of our lives. Like we would never hire somebody that we didn't have confidence and trust in. If we can't even have that level of confidence and trust in ourselves, and hold ourselves to that standard, how are we going to do the same for buyers, sellers, as team leaders, as entrepreneurs? And so that was that analogy about accountability was one of the best I've ever heard. Like we hear like self-love, this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, and I'm all about extreme ownership. Like it's one of our core values of our team, and everyone knows that. Everything that goes right is my responsibility. Everything that goes wrong is my responsibility. And so just to digress, I hope that when I talked about our failure with expansion, I took full responsibility. I want to make sure that that's very clear in this messaging, is that it was no one's fault but my own, that I didn't know enough and establish enough of a foundation with my due diligence to make sure that this was the right season and time for our team. Anyways, back to current accountability and extreme ownership. I loved what he said, like that level of trust and confidence. And I thought that was fantastic.
You know, that version of that I think about, because again, I keep myself in pretty strong integrity with my own goals. And I think it's anybody who's playing at the top of the field will say that I'm in alignment with my own integrity. Like if I'm in the basement doing like hanging leg raises and I'm tired and it's 5:45 in the morning and I'm supposed to go to 12, but I only go to 10, but I don't push for those extra 2. In my head, I'm thinking that what you just said. Nobody would know that I didn't do those 2, but I would. Right. And it's that self-integrity that I think is very powerful.
I love that. I love
that you share that. Who's inspiring you right now in the real estate space?
You. No. I don't know if it's anybody specifically. I'll be really honest with you. I'm a little bit tunnel vision right now. I'm in a season where I'm trying to regain clarity on what my next 5 years is going to look like.
Yep.
And I think that often we get so caught up, like one of the people that has had the biggest impact on me in this business is both the president of our company, Sharon Srivastava. I've followed him for years before he ever was a part of Real, and also Ben Kinney. But Sharon will say things like fame is the most efficient business model. And, if we want that level of attraction, whether it's buyers, sellers, agents, like clients, whatever that is, or whatever we're trying to attract, then we have to constantly be top of feed, top of mind. But if you're in a position where you're not clear on what your message is, then I think sometimes we have to give ourselves permission to take a break and take a step back while we're like realigning or gaining that clarity. So I'll be really honest with you. I'm in a season right now where I'm actually like not paying a whole lot of attention to what's going on in our industry, other than what I need to be doing day in and day out, because I know what I'm working on. And I think that we can consume, but I'm more focused right now on implementing the things that I know I need to be doing, like continuously doing the right next thing. And often, when you say like who's inspiring me, like right now, I'm actually trying to be less inspired. I know that sounds absolutely crazy. I've spent many years being inspired by everyone and everything around me. And now I'm in like very simple mode, like just implementation of what I know works and what the right next thing is for me, my life and my business and my family. So don't get me wrong, like I'm consuming content. I am consuming content. But I'm being very, very careful with what I'm listening to and how.
You know what? I'm glad you were transparent with that, because I think I'm in the same season as you. And when you share that, it does resonate with me. And it's okay. I think a lot of agents need to hear that from leaders like yourself, to say it's okay to pause and to look inward and to put the tunnel vision and the blinders on and really just execute. And I'm in that same boat with a lot of what I do, because I feel like you overconsume and you can get derailed from the bigger vision.
100%. Yeah.
And I'm in that way personally with my property investing. Right. Like that's a big most of my net worth is investment based. It's not
Mhm,
commission
mhm,
based. It's certainly
mhm,
not like rev share
mhm,
based and other things.
mhm.
It's property investing. So when I look, and I'm at 41, I'm looking, what am I going to have at 65?
Yeah,
Right. And I'm tunnel visioned on that. It doesn't
yeah,
matter who's sharing what podcast for me anymore.
yeah, yeah,
It's, does this align with that? And
yeah.
that's okay. Right.
It is okay, and it's okay to recognize that there's seasons, and I'm sure I'll go back into a season where I'm like, absorbing everyone and everything around me and all the content and all the. So I'm a lot more particular right now with how I spend my time, and I also have a lot on my plate, so I don't have a lot of time for. I don't have a lot of time to read. I don't have a lot of time to listen to like longer podcasts or things like that. So I'm very strategic with how, I'll work out and listen to a podcast. I'll walk the dog and listen to, a short version of or part of a podcast, or I'm returning calls and things like that. So um, I read something once, just not too long ago, where it just said like the crux of it was read less but implement more, because we're all so guilty about like you're listening to this podcast right now. Well, what nugget are you going to take from it? And only take one, but then do something with it.
Yeah.
We read these books and then they go back, and I'm guilty of it. I'm not pointing the finger. I'm preaching to myself, and I'm the choir. Like
Yeah.
we're guilty of reading these books and then never imparting anything that we actually read into our lives or our businesses. So just take small pieces of something, like even if you read the same book all year, but you actually like took a couple of nuggets from it and your life changed because of it, that
Yeah.
we'd all be further ahead. We
I
all
love
would
it.
be.
Yeah. The guys that are master executors are doing that, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and that's what puts them so far ahead. So,
Mhm.
Amy, you and I could chat on 1,000 things for
I know. I feel
1,000
like I
hours.
feel like there's a lot more we could talk about. Maybe you'll
And
have me back one day.
yes, I would, it's been a while. We've been having a hard time to get this together.
I know.
As you can tell, she's tunnel vision. She's got her shit together. She's one to follow. I'm really,
So
really
kind.
grateful to be a part of the company with you, and we're
Yeah, me
partners in
too.
business.
Yeah,
And
me too.
thanks for spending all this amazing time with us on this and sharing
Yeah.
like a lot of what you did today. Um, the best way to follow you and your journey for those listening, and to potentially
Yeah.
partner with you if they're not already with us at Real, I mean, where's the
Yeah.
best place to find you?
Instagram was at Amy Youngren _. Yeah, that's the best way. But I mean, I'm easily found on our website, northgroup.com. Call, text 416-624-8854. I'm an open book, so I'm
Amazing.
happy to help however I can.
Awesome. I know you got to run to another incredible meeting after this. So I can't wait to see you in, well, I guess October, likely down
We
in
will
San
definitely
Diego.
see each other in October for sure.
All right. Well, with
Thank
that,
you so much.
everybody, it's been another Reeducation Experience podcast. Thanks, Amy, for being here. Thanks for
My
listening,
pleasure.
for those of you on, and we'll see you all next time.